Recently, Transformers prices have been skyrocketing. The Voyager class got an $8 price hike recently, which is crazy to me. And the new Skybound Optimus Prime figure was priced at an astounding $80, which was apparently an increase from an original $60 price tag. How do we know that? Well, it appears they gave Robert Kirkman, the head honcho at Skybound, outdated information about the figure, which he read out loud to everyone at the Energon Universe panel at New York Comic Con 2025.
This fan-favorite comic book moment is brought to life at 7.25 inches. It is a liter scale, will be available on HasbroPulse.com for pre-order at a cost of $59.99 USD in North America.
So that was a lie.
At the moment, we're blaming these increased prices on tariffs, but I can't help but feel there's also some underlying greed going on. Not that anyone can really prove that, it's just a vibes thing. But these more expensive Transformers did get me thinking, what are some really stupidly expensive Transformers toys? I think if you're a fan, you know some Transformers can go for hundreds of dollars, like Animated Blackout, who was never released in the West, so he's very desired over here and can go for really high prices. But what if we went next level, like thousands of dollars, or tens of thousands of dollars? What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and in this video we're going to take a look at 3 different levels of expensive Transformers, starting on the low end of expensive and ending with stupidly expensive Transformers. But trust me, every toy on this list would break the bank. I'm mostly doing research with the power of eBay, as well as a couple other random resources, so we're primarily discussing aftermarket prices, which are driven by exclusivity, FOMO, and rich people with crippling toy addictions. And these prices can fluctuate and change a lot, so if any of the prices I list are too high or low, don't get too mad at me. I mostly want to talk about these out there toys, and I'll be providing the history of some of these super expensive pieces. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to help me defeat my evil arch nemesis Al-G Rhythm, who keeps outbidding me on eBay last second. It's really annoying. Our first level is simply called expensive. And to me personally, toys become truly expensive once they reach past the $300 mark. So for this level, we'll be covering the $300 to $1,000 range of toys. And I'm sure a lot of you watching have lower tolerances for the term expensive, but we're making a video here and toy collectors are insane. Welcome to my sick and freaked up world. Like I said earlier, Animated Blackout goes for hundreds of dollars, especially new in box. But out of box, he can go for a bit lower, thankfully. I'm not usually the type of collector to have a holy grail figure, which is a term for a usually hard to get toy that serves as sort of a goal for a collector, and Animated Blackout is definitely a grail of mine. One day I want to go to Japan and find one in person, because I'm a huge Transformers animated fan, and I think that journey would just feel right in my soul. Blackout is on the low end of expensive animated toys, by the way. There were a couple of Japanese exclusive versions of Optimus Prime, one being the Optimus Prime Black version, which was exclusively sold at an event in 2010, and the figure is limited to 300 copies. They seem to go for around $400 to $500 on eBay, but thankfully one of the recent 4-packs features a new version of animated Nemesis Prime, based on the legacy mold of the character, which is great. There was another animated Prime repaint. This one is the Elite Guard version, which looks a bit ugly in my opinion, but this guy also goes for similar amounts of money, and you could only get him by using a coupon from a Transformers animated book and ordering him by mail. Finally, in terms of Japanese animated exclusives, we also have Wingblade Optimus and Jetpack Bumblebee. Both are similar to Blackout, toys that were meant to come to America, but Hasbro's line for animated was cancelled before they could be imported. Wingblade Optimus is a glaring omission from the Western line in my opinion. His Wingblade look was really important in the show, and the toy itself looks awesome, using a clear plastic version of the Voyager Prime as a base for the armor. Apparently the Hasbro release would have used the Deluxe Optimus as a base, but he would have the same armor components. Both look cool in my opinion, though like I said, the Hasbro version never released. Wingblade Prime can go for $200 to $300 on the aftermarket, with the Jetpack Bumblebee going for a bit less. The craziest prices for animated stuff seems to come from BotCon though. For those who don't know, BotCon is one of the oldest Transformers conventions, and back in the day Hasbro used to work with them in an official capacity. It was super common for there to be BotCon exclusive figures and sets, like Toxitron for example. example. A green and purple repaint of Optimus that can go for almost $600. And it's a cool repaint for sure. Toxitron is inspired by the Toxic Avenger. It has become a somewhat common repaint for Optimus Prime over the years, because Optimus Prime really needed more repaints. The 2011 BotCon Stunticon job set takes the cake for expensive animated stuff though. This set of 5 Transformers is absolutely fantastic, and maybe my favorite BotCon exclusive set overall, especially because there was a comic book released at BotCon that tied into the set, so these characters actually have some semi-official lore, which is very important for me when it comes to toys. I don't know why, but I really need a little bit of character and story to go with the toys to make me really interested in them. But the Stunticon job set is awesome, and it can fetch a really high price, sometimes going over $1,000. If we're talking expensive, we also need to talk about G1 or Generation 1 toys, which is the first line of Transformers from 1984. In-box G1 toys can go for insane prices, especially popular characters like Optimus, Megatron, and Soundwave. The quality of the box usually determines the price. Also, stuff like whether or not it's been opened and if stickers were used tend to factor into the pricing. But a ton of in-box G1 stuff goes for hundreds of dollars and can get very, very expensive. As for something a bit weird and niche, there's also the Mexican versions of the G1 Transformers. Instead of producing and releasing the toys themselves, Hasbro licensed the line out to Plasticos IGA in Mexico, which led to some bizarre alternate versions of classic G1 toys. For example, Optimus Prime has these red eyes. It looks like he got the worst case of pink eye ever. And copies of this Mexican variant can go for well over $400. And in-box copies have sold for over $1,000. There are plenty of other alternate releases of G1 toys by other countries, like the Brazilian versions by the company Estrela, who mostly release the mini-bots in weird colors, like Bumblebee in silver. Most of these weird mini-bots can go for over $300, which is wild considering how small they are. And on the other end of the spectrum, the biggest G1 Transformer, Fortress Maximus, can go for thousands of dollars. I did also want to mention some Transformers that were released with expensive prices. Of course, the HasLab Unicron immediately comes to mind. For those unaware, Hasbro has its own Kickstarter style program called HasLab, and the very first Transformers HasLab was the one and only Unicron, this time at a massive scale, standing at 27 inches tall. This was a figure fans were wanting for years, with the last good Unicron toy being the Transformers Armada figure. This toy was sold at an insane price of over $600 with tax, and it nearly didn't fund, but Hasbro actually increased the HasLab campaign length by a month, and it was funded the day before the HasLab ended. I'll be brave and say it, this toy is not worth the money. While it's an incredibly impressive piece, it looks like an absolute pain in the ass to transform or even play with. And while I'm glad the toy exists, I could never own something so unwieldy. It quite frankly looks more like a chore than a fun toy. I think the Armada Unicron is still the best toy of the character overall, and there's even a movie deco of him. So yeah, HasLab Unicron was an insane moment in the franchise, and you already know the aftermarket on this thing is absolutely insane. Since it was a HasLab, the toy only got made for a limited run for only the people that could afford to buy it at the time of the HasLab. So there are unopened copies that go for well over $2,000. But let's stop bothering with these plebeian low tier toys. $2,000? Literally pocket change. We need to upgrade. Before we get into the very expensive Transformers, let me tell you about something that is not expensive. My YouTube membership or Patreon, both of which only cost $1 a month, and both give you access to my super chill Discord server, where we discuss toys daily, watch tokusatsu weekly, and enjoy movies monthly. Members also get weekly exclusive videos called Toy Dives, where I talk about random toy line that interests me, like the Toxic Crusaders, which inspired the Toxitron figure I talked about earlier. Okay, for this next section, we will be upping the ante a little bit, talking about Transformers ranging from $1,000 to $10,000. In terms of official Transformers that cost that much, I have to mention the Robosen line of robot Transformers. Normally I wouldn't count something like this since it's second party, but these prices have been a point of contention with the line and a point of discussion in the community, with their first release Optimus Prime costing a whopping $1,200 on release. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a cool toy. It transforms by itself, which is pretty amazing, and it can move around and say stuff too. But man, none of those features are even close to worth $1,200 to me. I guess I've never really been impressed by remote control robot toys, but to me this thing is actually taking the fun out of what a Transformer is. The transformation to me is generally the most engaging part of a toy, and one that transforms itself is completely unappealing to me, especially at an insane cost. Though somebody must be buying these things, because there's a Bumblebee, Grimlock, and Megatron now, all of which cost as much, if not more, than Prime. There is apparently a cheaper version of Optimus Prime called the Elite version, but it's still literally $700, so not even close to worth it for me personally. And there was also a gold sweepstakes version with only 9 copies getting made, so that can go for crazy prices. This one sold for $4,000. Speaking of gold-plated figures, I should talk about Lucky Draw Transformers. Lucky Draw is a nickname given by fans for Transformers that can only be obtained via Japanese sweepstakes. These figures are usually gaudy repaints, covered in gold or silver chrome, or made out of transparent plastic, though there are some that are just cool repaints. Lucky Draw toys are some of the rarest, coolest pieces a collector can own, and while I don't think many people actively hunt Lucky Draw pieces, they definitely can serve as a centerpiece to any collection, or at least bragging rights. There's many levels to prices for Lucky Draw toys, as many of them come from different lottery and sweepstakes events, and the actual character also tends to matter. Optimus Prime is bound to be more popular than Beast Machine's Cheetor, but not really focusing on the prices for a moment, I love the Lucky Draw Armada Megatron. The black color scheme is so sick. He kind of reminds me of Energon Unicron. I also really like the multiple Optimus Primals in different colors, and we also have some golden versions of the 2007 Leader Optimus, which is a great toy. Check out my video on the 2007 movie toy line for more. And they also decked out Dark of the Moon Bumblebee in gold as well. These are literally just scratching the surface of Lucky Draw, but I have to point out the most unique and possibly rarest Lucky Draw toy, which was actually given away at BotCon 2007. The prize was actually given to the winner of the previous year's door prize, and it was a 2007 Leader Class Optimus with a new head that looked like the winner of the prize, which is insane. Truly a one-of-one fascinating piece. It looks so incredibly weird, and I genuinely don't know how much this would go for, but probably a lot. Speaking of BotCon, several of the exclusive sets from the convention are very expensive, including the incredibly cool Dawn of Futures Past set from 2006. This set features repaints of Transformers Cybertron toys as the Maximals, before they land on prehistoric Earth and had to take on beast modes. This is such an awesome idea for a set, and I think they all really fit except maybe Rhinox, who should be beefier in my opinion, but using the Crumple Zone mode for Optimus Primal was a stroke of genius in my opinion, and this was a set I drooled over while watching YouTube as a kid in the late 2000s. For some reason, the Megatron exclusive from the same year goes for an insane amount of money, and I'm not really sure why. For the last part of this section, I wanted to mention prototypes. Prototypes are early test versions of toys, and they often have different colors from the final product, usually because they're using whatever plastic they have around, because again, the purpose of a prototype is to make sure the toy works. Prototypes, or protos, usually get out into the wild thanks to former toy designers selling them. As you might be able to guess, protos can go for stupid amounts of money, and there are usually super limited amounts, with most prototypes being completely unique one-of-ones. The coolest part is a lot of the protos can still transform, like Binaltech Skids here, who is all black and clear plastic. I don't know why it's so cool to me, but it really is. My absolute favorite proto I've seen is the Dark of the Moon Voyager Shockwave, who looks like a weird Fisher-Price toy, with all manner of blues, pinks, greens, and oranges being used for his body. I love the look of him, he's so odd. Maybe I should do a deeper dive on prototypes in another video. Let me know in the comments if I should. Okay, we're entering the endgame now. We have reached the stupidly expensive tier, where only the richest of rich collectors can shop. We're looking at Transformers toys worth over $10,000. Of course, some Lucky Draw stuff makes a return in this part. We're talking extremely limited quantities of toys you can only get from Japan through luck. So really, these are the rarest of the rare. Like this golden Transformer Cybertron Optimus Prime, which is going for $15,000 currently. I must admit, I've been magnetically drawn to this lucky draw green Unicron, which sold on eBay for $16,000. This is the listing that truly inspired me to make this video, and my silly ass thought $16K was the highest amount a Transformer has sold for when I first started my research. How incredibly wrong I was, you sweet summer child past me. This green Unicron actually has story significance. In Transformers Armada, all the minicons joined together to form the Unicron of Light for a short time, and this toy represents that moment. It's a lucky draw with only 10 copies made, so it fetching $16K makes sense. I love the light green of this version. Something about it is so pleasing in my brain, and it must have been really cool to other people too, because they actually put out another Unicron of Light in 2018, this time just as a normal figure in the Japanese Encore line. This version's colors are much darker, but he still looks incredible, even more so to me with all the transparent plastic. It's actually crazy the Unicron mold was still being used in 2018, 14 full years after the toy was first released, and it just goes to show how good and iconic that toy was. Also, did you know Dead End's Japanese name is just Bug? I kinda love that. Okay, for the next part of this video, I will be using an article called 10 Most Expensive Transformers Toys as a guide. This article can be found on wheeljackslab.com, and it was written by Chris Ingledew. It will be linked in the description below. Apparently, eBay listings are not stored forever, so there are really old eBay listings I was not seeing when I first started researching. And I was actually gobsmacked by how expensive some of these are. I will say all of these pieces are in-box G1 toys, which we've already discussed and know can go for very high amounts. But these G1 toys are AFA certified. AFA stands for Action Figure Authority, and they were a toy grading service. Basically, you would send your in-box toy to them, and they would give the toy a score based on the condition. If you've ever been slightly interested in the Pokemon TCG, you've surely heard of card grading. AFA is basically the same thing, just for toys. And in modern day, AFA is actually under CGA. Personally, I think grading stuff is incredibly stupid. I would never want one of my prized possessions locked up in a box, given a score by some Randy. To me, it only seems like people grade stuff so they can sell it for an inflated value. And by God, these Transformers prices are inflated. An AFA graded G1 Megatron sold for a whopping $18,000. And honestly, of all G1 Transformers, Megatron selling for a lot makes the most sense, given his unique handgun alt mode that has not been replicated much outside of G1. An AFA graded Jetfire sold for $24,000. I love Jetfire, and it seems like this toy sold for that much thanks to a pretty high AFA score. Most Transformers on this list float around 80 to 85 for their score, but this Jetfire was near mint and got a 90. Still, $24,000 for a toy is mind-boggling, and it only gets crazier from here. Next up, we have AFA certified Fortress Maximus, the biggest G1 figure, which sold for just under $30K. It's so insane how this AFA grading thing adds value. You can get a boxed Fortress Maximus for $2,500 right now on eBay, and that somehow sounds like a deal now. Of course, we also have an Optimus Prime. This one also makes sense in terms of going for a lot to me. I mean, it's Optimus Prime. The character alone probably drove the price up. This AFA graded G1 Optimus sold for $40,000, which is unironically more than I make in a year. For the final item on this list, and to my knowledge the most expensive Transformer ever sold, we have an AFA graded G1 Devastator gift set. This set was factory sealed and received a grade of 70 from AFA, which is actually surprisingly low for a score, but clearly that did not matter because this toy sold for $80,000. Oh my god, that just made my jaw drop when I read it. You could buy 2 brand new cars for that price. And this set was sold in 2015, so you could have probably bought 3 new cars for that price. Or 15,000 Little Caesars pizzas. I gotta stop writing these videos when I'm hungry. It's just insane that something as simple as a toy can be sold for $80,000. Whoever bought this set, please reach out to me via email and become my friend. And I guess anyone with an insanely, stupidly expensive collection, reach out. An idea I always thought that would be cool would be going to other collectors' houses and doing like an MTV crib style video. Well, that made me feel poor and question consumerism, but whatever, it was also cool, and I liked all the weird toys we talked about. Also, before I go, I wanted to mention that I'll be at TFCon Chicago this year. I'm really looking forward to going and hopefully seeing some of you there. I'll also be on a YouTuber panel on Friday at 6 p.m. with JCC2224, Bots Obsession, Patriot Prime, Deluxe Baldwin, Baldwin, and Treebot reviews. So that's very exciting and kind of nerve-wracking, but I'm looking forward to it all and hopefully getting out of my comfort zone. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you would like to support me past that, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you the same thing: access to my super chill Discord server where we talk about toys daily, watch Tokusatsu weekly, and movies monthly. And you also get weekly exclusive videos called Toy Dives. Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.